In other words, each person has a little bit of information.
That's right, that's better. A little bit of information, or a little bit of misinformation. What? You can have a little bit of misinformation and a hell of a lot of error, but very little information. Because most people don't seek information at all. They seek a sense of well-being. They seek reinforcement, verbal. Hey, you're doing well. You look smart. Boy, you know, I like your mentality. Hey, that's a smart suit you got. But very few people seek information. Rarely do you go to a library and a person says, I want information. And the guy says, what kind of information? Anything. Oh, it's information. There are very few people like that. Now, the very few people that I knew like that don't have any friends. Because people are not interested in information. When a person gets up and he says, I'm a no-good drunk, I've lost my home and car, he doesn't want information. He sounds off. And then the other guy just can't wait to get up and tell how he lost his home and car. And now he's sober 3 months, you see. Another guy can't wait to get up and say, I'm sober 11 months, see. Another guy gets up and tells he's been sober 15 years. But nobody wants information. They want acceptance at their own levels of development. Our government's not interested in exchanging ideas with other nations. They're interested in securing a deal, the best deal they can get. So are the other nations. And people usually don't even build model airplanes because they're interested in aviation. They build model airplanes because of all the many things that are held up that you can build. Airplanes move in 3 dimensions. They move up, down, sideways, and roll. And so you have more dimensional activity there. So people that build model airplanes, usually like other people, they get together and they cut wood and they make something like this with wings on it, and then they put a tail on it. They put a little gas engine on it and a propeller, and they carry a battery and they pick it up and they use control. Rarely do you see a person who's interested in aviation, flying machines. Then they don't do this. You come to the airport and you see a strange-looking thing. They say, what the hell is that? This is watch. And the guy turns up, the thing flies up in the air. It's got no propeller. He says, that's right. I'm interested in flying, but not conventional approaches to anything, because they're worthless. Because if you go out and do the same thing that our old Lillienthal did, jumped off a precipice with the old bat wings, and people keep talking about creativity, they're not creating anything. You know, I asked a writer, what do you want to do? He said, I want to be like Jack London. Well, he already existed and wrote. Now, what are you going to do? You want to be like Jack London, then you're doing a duplicate, and that's against the law. And you got people in the corner say, well, what is it that you want? They don't know. Because they've never been told what it is that they wanted. They've been told what they ought to want. And so they start living in a lifestyle that's comfortable to their emotions. It goes that way. And their parents say you ought to live that way. And other people say you ought to live that way. And they are in a state of conflict. This is the right way. The way you go is the right way to live for you at that time. And when you make a switch and you start moving that way, that's the right way for you. Unless he comes over and says, which way do you think I ought to go? Then you yak it. But if he's headed that way, and he's got his suitcases in his hand, say, pleasant voyage, see? Now, people do that. They head in different directions. But their direction keeps changing. That means they're growing. I always respect a girl who's been married 15 times. She's trying, looking around, searching. I don't like a guy that built one airplane, 100 different models. Helicopters, low wing, high wing. This is a guy that's looking around. So I take my hat off and respect somebody who's been divorced 25 times. Because they're searching, they're seeking. But our society says, you've been married twice, there's something wrong with you. And everybody feels shocked. Society makes them sick if they don't conform to their fucking patterns. And their patterns are senseless. Imagine anyone that would take on the job, and this is no insult, of being a medical doctor or a psychiatrist, cutting into assholes and infectious bodies, cutting into that all day long. How can that be interesting? Much more interesting to look into the nature of nature than cutting it. Or a guy drilling holes in rotten teeth all day long, a dentist. What type of mentality would put a guy behind a chair that drill in the rotting gums all day long? I don't understand that. But you ask the guy, what are you? He says, I'm a dentist. And I'm sorry to hear that. Another guy, I'm a lawyer. He says, gee, that's disgusting. It's like owning a chain of whorehouses in the Philippines and not paying anybody. A lawyer is the most dishonest, corrupt person that can exist. But here people walk around proud of that. That's what we say here, since you're new, that this society is utterly insane. And if you're trying to make sense of it, you get sick. Best thing to do is get out your notebook, look out the window, make notes, and put it back in your pocket. But don't make any adjustments to it. See? So when somebody says they don't like your painting, you say, that's fine. But don't argue with them, then you get sick. Okay? Now, it's when you begin to think that you're ill because you don't fit in with anything. You're on the fringe of sanity. And when you begin to fit in, you've lost it. When you fit in with the way things are going, you've lost it. You're out of step. Being alive is subject to stimulus, change, and conforming to a standard pattern is death. Now, if you experiment and seek out newer and different ways of thinking, you're going to get hurt because you're experimenting. This guy builds a little single-man helicopter, and the blade shakes to pieces, and he breaks his arm. Experimentation means unknown areas. That's why most people don't experiment. So if you experiment, you get hurt. That's why most people say, well, now, wait a while. I tried all those things when I was crazy, when I was young. But now I've settled down, I don't try anything anymore. That's safer. So most normal people consider themselves safe.